Have you ever walked down the supplement aisle and just felt kind of overwhelmed? I mean, you've got rows and rows of bottles, all promising better health, more energy, stronger bones. It's a huge industry, but it operates in a world that's, well, very different from your medicine cabinet. So what's really in those bottles? And who's checking? All right, let's dive in and unpack the world of dietary supplements here in the US.
Just to get a sense of the scale we're talking about, look at this number. Over 100,000. That's how many unique dietary supplement products are on the market in the US. No, that is not a typo. From the vitamin C you see everywhere to super exotic herbal extracts, the sheer variety is just staggering.
And you know, this massive market exists for a simple reason. A lot of us are using them. According to federal data, more than half of all adults in the United States take some kind of dietary supplement. Some surveys even put that number closer to 70%. So this isn't some niche topic. For tens of millions of people, this is part of daily life.
Which brings us to the big question, right? The one that's at the very heart of all this. With this many products out there and this many people using them, who's making sure they're actually safe and that they do what they claim to do? The answer is complicated.
To really understand the rules, we first have to get a handle on what a supplement legally is, because in the eyes of the law, it's not a drug, and it's not quite a food either. It's in this special category all by itself.
So here's the official US legal definition. It's a product you take by mouth that has a dietary ingredient like a vitamin, a mineral, an herb, or an amino acid. But the key word here, the one you've got to remember, is supplement. These products are meant to add to your diet, not to replace healthy food or to act like medicine.
This chart right here really lays out the two completely different systems at play. For a drug to be sold, the company has to prove to the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, that it's both safe and effective. And they have to do that before it ever hits a single shelf. But for dietary supplements, nope, none of that is required. There's no pre-market approval for safety or for effectiveness. The manufacturer is responsible for safety, sure, but they don't have to show their proof to the FDA. This is probably the single most important difference to understand.
So how do we get this two-tiered system? Well, it all goes back to one single landmark piece of legislation that completely changed the game.
You know, the groundwork for this was laid over decades. Back in 1976, an amendment blocked the FDA from putting limits on how potent vitamins could be. Then in 1990, nutrition labels became mandatory on food. And then, 1994, the big one, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, or as you'll hear it called, DSHA. This is the law that created the modern supplement market we have today. Just a year later, the Office of Dietary Supplements was set up at the NIH to focus on the science.
So what did DSHA actually do? This is the crucial part. First, it legally classified supplements as a category of food, not drugs. That one move is what stripped the FDA of its authority for pre-market approval. And most critically, it completely flipped the burden of proof. So instead of a company having to prove a supplement is safe before they sell it, the FDA now has to prove a supplement is unsafe after it's already on the market.
This creates what's called a post-market system. The best way to think about it is like this. For drugs, the FDA is like a gatekeeper at a bridge, checking every single car before it's allowed to cross. For supplements, the FDA is more like a highway patrol car. It can only pull a car over for being unsafe after it's already on the road, mixing with traffic and maybe even causing problems.
Okay, so that's the legal stuff. But how does all this affect what you actually see when you're standing in that aisle? Well, it directly impacts the words on the bottle, defining what manufacturers can, and maybe more importantly, what they cannot legally say.
There are two key types of claims you'll see. A health claim, that's a big deal. It actually links a supplement to reducing the risk of a disease, like osteoporosis. These claims need serious scientific agreement and have to be pre-approved by the FDA. You don't see them very often. What you see pretty much everywhere is the structure-function claim. This just describes a supplement's role in the body's normal function, like calcium helps build strong bones. Those do not need FDA approval.
So how can you tell the difference? Easy. Look for this exact sentence. This disclaimer is legally required on any product that makes a structure/function claim. When you see this, it's a huge flashing sign that tells you the claim you just read has not been reviewed or approved by the FDA. It's your clue that the product is being sold to support normal body function, not to treat a disease, because legally, only a drug can claim to do that.
Okay, so given this whole regulatory landscape, the power really does end up in the hands of the consumer. So let's finish up with some clear, practical tools you can use to navigate that supplement aisle safely and effectively.
First and foremost, talk to your doctor, your pharmacist, or a registered dietitian.
They can help you figure out what, if anything, you actually need. Second, use trusted resources like the National Institutes of Health's Office of Dietary Supplements or the FDA's website for real evidence-based info. Third, be aware of the risks. Contamination and adulteration are very real problems, especially in supplements that are marketed for things like weight loss, bodybuilding, or sexual enhancement. And finally, always remember what that disclaimer means. Supplements are meant to supplement a healthy diet, not to treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
So we'll leave you with this thought. The system we have is often described as buyer beware, but with the right knowledge about the laws, the labels, and the resources that are out there, you have the power to change that. The real question isn't just about being a buyer, it's how can you become buyer aware?